What's up, everybody? Welcome to What's Up, the show where we talk all things energy. We'll share some stories, maybe share some laughs, and give you the information you need to make informed energy choices. I'm your host for this episode, Danielle Salisbury. I'm joined by my fellow community energy advisors and Cornell Cooperative Extension educators working on NYSERDA's Community Energy Engagement Program, Colin Adkins and Sean Welsh. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Through this program, local community energy advisors in 10 regions across the state help residents and businesses reduce their energy consumption and energy costs and make informed energy decisions. We'll be posting our contact information in the comment section of the Facebook post, along with other helpful resources that we mentioned today. And if you'd like to ask us a question, please do so through the comment section of this video. So today we're discussing what's up with electric vehicles. This episode is aptly timed because later this month is National Drive Electric Week, as our guest Hugo made me aware of. Today we will bust myths on electric vehicles, which we likely will refer to often as EVs, so don't get lost there. We will address some concerns about electric vehicles and hear from two very special EV owners that we have with us today about their experience with their vehicles. Our special guest for today, as I mentioned before, we have Hugo Jule, who is a project engineer for the New York Power Authority, but is here today with his EV enthusiast and advocate hat on. Hi, Hugo. How are you?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good. I see you joining us from your car, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I can tell you more about how I ended up here, but it's proof of how I'm using my car for more than just driving.
Exactly. You're using it for some work to help us with this podcast. So just before we get into some of the myth busting that I was talking about, I just want to give a really quick overview. Electric vehicles, we've heard a lot about them. They have some benefits over traditional vehicles, which include that they are much cleaner than conventional vehicles today, even accounting for the emissions from electricity sources that we use to charge them. So, and as we shift to more and more renewable sources of power, they just become more clean. They become cleaner over time. So there are a lot of myths that we want to bust today, and we also do want to hear about your own personal experiences. So I'll just start with one of the biggest myths and that I've heard is, they just don't have the range because you have to plug in to charge them. So what would you guys say about that comment right there?
You want to start or shall I?
Please start us off, Hugo.
So I think one of the first electric vehicles that were available back in 2013, 2015 was the Nissan Leaf. And that one was probably rated at 80 or 90 miles. So people thought that was just too short. And what happens is that through research and data, what you find is that most people drive an average of 30 to 40 miles every day, even if you're commuting to work. So the other thing that's happening is that you're getting a lot of electric vehicle charging stations all over the state. So even if you only had 80 miles range, you could still travel a lot. And the way to bust this myth is that most of the electric vehicles that are being made now easily have over 200 miles range. The used Chevy Bolt that I bought, 2017 Chevy Bolt, is rated at almost 240 miles. So there's plenty of range with electric vehicles.
Wow. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I talk with people about is just the vast majority of the time, the miles we're driving are these short trips. It's a shorter commute, but we're much more concerned on the whole about these longer trips that are the minority of the time. But like Hugo said, the charging infrastructure is really coming a long way, leaps and bounds every year.
What about this myth that it takes forever to charge an electric vehicle?
It's not entirely correct. Do we have time to talk about the different levels of charging stations now?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so the way that I like to explain this is relating electric vehicles to just another appliance. When I'm driving with friends, I tell them I'm basically driving a blender. So there are three speeds, if you will, of how you can charge an electric vehicle. One, just like your refrigerator is plugged into the outlet on the wall, 120 volt, that's the first level, and it's very slow. Overnight, you could probably get maybe 20 miles, over 6 or 8 hours of charging. The second level, again, comparing that to an appliance, your dryer, you plug that into a 200 volt outlet, that is faster. That can actually get you up to 20 miles an hour. Okay, 20, 25 miles an hour for a level 2. It's normal. And then there is the fast chargers, which can give you easily up to 100 miles in about a half an hour. The thing that is becoming more available through Tesla and others, it's really, really fast chargers where you can get over 100 miles in 15 to 20 minutes. If anything, car makers are behind. Car makers are not making vehicles that can take this speed. So is it as fast as getting gasoline in your car? Probably not. But it's just as fast to just plug it in and walk away and then come back and you get a lot of miles. So myth busted.
Myth busted. Not to mention that the cars are just kind of sitting there most of the time. You know, they're not actively driving most of the time, except for those really long trips. So you can be doing what they call, you know, the trickle charge or the level 1 charge and just getting back some of those miles just while it's sitting there, if that's what you got at home, or integrating it into whatever activity you're doing. If you're out shopping, you see them a lot in your shopping centers. Plug it in for a little while you're doing your stuff, which I think is kind of one of the neat aspects of it, is you don't have to make a special stop sometimes.
Okay, I have
A
two.
lot of,
Sorry, go
well,
ahead.
I just wanted to add, so a lot of these infrastructure upgrades that we're seeing with the chargers are level 2s and 3s, right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
So that's great. That's fantastic.
Can I show you where I'm plugged in right now?
Yeah,
I'm
please.
plugged in at a public level 2. I don't know if you guys can see that. We're doing this live, right?
Yeah.
I'm plugged in at a level 2 public charging station provided by the city of Kingston. And I ended up doing some work here since about 2 in the afternoon. So I've gotten about 90 miles for free. As in, you can plug in at this one and don't have to pay. So there you go.
That brings me to my
thing.
next myth, which is EV cars are more expensive than traditional combustion fueled cars. Can somebody bust that myth?
I'll say that there are usually some more upfront costs that, you know, compared to, you know, a similar trim vehicle that's a conventional vehicle, that the EV might still comes at a little bit of a premium right now, while the cost of the batteries are still high. But those are coming down, I think, as the batteries get cheaper and cheaper. And you know, the cost of maintaining that electric vehicle is a lot less over the lifespan compared to a conventional vehicle. You don't have as many moving parts to break, wear down, replace. It kind of keeps it a little simpler that way.
And a conservative way to look at it is that you might pay maybe 2/3 less of what you will pay for gasoline. Even if gas prices are at $2.20 a gallon, the equivalent that you will pay for electricity will pretty much always be less. And to that point of maintenance, something that, you know, I've always been on a budget. And for those who don't know me, I used to work on cars all the time. I grew up a mechanic. I've always worked on cars. And I always hated that I had to pay for oil changes. I always hated that I had to do oil changes. Having to do an oil change further defines that an internal combustion engine is flawed by nature. If you don't change the oil, it'll die. You know, on an electric vehicle, you no longer have to do oil changes. You're saving hundreds on that maintenance, but you're also, thanks to good government, thanks to this infrastructure that's available for free, you can also save a lot of money on the gas that you're not buying.
Yeah, great point. So myth busted.
Yes.
And the last myth is actually one that Sean brought up. I don't know if you want to say that last myth that you had.
Where the well, I live in a hilly area, and a lot of the complaints over here are they die going up hills. So what would you guys say to that one?
Sean's got one.
These things are sporty, man. The instant acceleration on them, the drivetrains, the really smooth drivetrains on these. That's sort of a really out there myth that, you know, they're just gonna die when you go uphill. Any vehicle has to use a little bit more energy to get up hills, but an electric vehicle is not going to die on you just because there's a hill anyway.
And on that one, let's see. I've never been there, but you guys know Whiteface or Mount Washington?
Sure.
I've seen stories of people who brag about how their cars, their electric vehicles, get up there no problem, just like any other vehicle. Does it use energy? Of course, they all do. They're all going uphill, but it's not like they, don't make it up there. So yeah, it's busted.
Not to mention you get to charge the whole way down with the regenerative braking.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. Great. And just so with, we have a little bit of time left, so I just kind of want to hear from both you, Hugo, and Colin, about why you decided to go EV and what your experience has been so far, and would you recommend it, just of that nature. So maybe we'll start with Hugo.
Sure. So as I mentioned, I grew up a mechanic. I've been working on cars for most of my life, and I've always been fascinated by the technology and by electricity. And again, being on a budget, saving money has always been important to me. But the economy of extraction that we live in, where every person who drives a gas or diesel vehicle is contributing to the production of emissions, it just did not sit well for me. So even if not all the electricity that we produce and consume in New York is coming from hydroelectric plants, we can still drive a lot cleaner by going full electric. So environmental reasons, saving money reasons, and it's also just so much smoother. The power is there, it's fun, no noises, no rattling. It's just like no exhaust to worry about, no more transmission to worry about. It's just great.
Fantastic.
All of those things. Yeah, just the opportunity to align my values and the things that I think are good for the planet. I have a community solar subscription, so any charging I would do at home is essentially carbon free. Those things are really important to me. I think it's the direction we need to go to have a more sustainable planet. But another thing that I've just noticed since having the vehicle, which has even just been less than a week, is this sort of like revival of the road trip, where you get a little caught up sometimes in the destination and getting there as fast as you possibly can. But if you have this opportunity to stop off somewhere on your drive, charge for a little while, and just experience the area, whatever you're doing, is, I think, a really cool benefit that doesn't get talked about very often with these EV purchases, but is one that I'm looking forward to, taking some road trips in the new vehicle.
Can you share what car you just got? What's your new electric vehicle?
I purchased a 2020 Chevy Bolt electric.
Oh, nice. I think you got the one that's got even longer range than mine. Is that right?
259, I think, is the
yes.
estimated range. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very likely that during the summer, when the batteries are warmer, you'll probably get closer to even 280. And that's something that a lot of people do have some concerns about. During the winter, the coldest days, the range does decrease, and that is fine with me. I'm still happy getting 150, 180 miles out of a full charge, because on the coldest days, I'm just staying at home.
Yeah.
Good point.
Daniel, I think it's important that we mention a couple of those relevant NYSERDA programs that have to do with this, right? Our Drive Clean rebate. So that means $2,000 off of a purchase at dealerships, correct?
Yep, at participating dealerships.
Okay. And then Evolve New York and Charge New York are two programs for some infrastructure help to subsidize the cost of putting in chargers, right? And those work with municipalities and businesses. What about, and is that work for like a residential setting?
No, it has to be a public use charger.
Okay.
But it's a pretty good chunk of change off that charging. I think it's like $4,000 off the cost of that level 2 charger.
And I think NIPA, right, has one.
There. I was gonna say, everybody should take the time to see what's available for everything.
Right.
Something that I just learned from my utility, I'm in Central Hudson Territory, is that they have, I think, a $400 or $450 rebate for a level 2 charger for home. They do require that the customer sign to their electric vehicle time of use rate, which it can also save you some money. It can also be cheaper than what you normally pay during the day. So you can still find rebates at the federal level, at the state level, and from dealers for the purchase of electric vehicles, new ones. you can definitely find some good deals on used electric vehicles, and you can also find discounts for charging stations. So it's all being made very affordable right now.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was actually just going to say before you had mentioned there was some events that I want to get into real quick, but before we do that, if somebody right now is about to purchase a vehicle, either used or new, what advice would you give to them to try to encourage them to go electric for anybody on the table?
The one that I tell everybody is to take their time to test drive everything. And especially if they have kids or if they have, a lot of stuff that they carry. I used to own a Toyota Tacoma, a Toyota 4Runner, a full-size Tundra, to know that you can do everything you used to with an electric vehicle just as fine.
Yeah, take them for a spin. They're really fun. You might be surprised at how fun they are. And just kind of think about the ways in which your life might be a little different with an electric vehicle. It's nice to kind of fit it into your life when you're thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I guess just to wrap up, Hugo, you had mentioned that there were some events coming up because, as I mentioned in the beginning, National EV Week is coming up, Drive EV Week. And you and I, when I first reached out to you, had mentioned there were some great events happening in the area. Would you mind, I think you said there's one in Kingston. Could you just elaborate real quickly on those, and we can pop up some information about those on Facebook as well?
Yeah, so just a little bit of context for, I guess, anybody who's new to the EV scene. National Drive Electric Week has been going on for quite a few years now. It's been a collaboration with the Sierra Club, Plug-in America, Electric Auto Association, and private sponsorship heavily from Nissan Leaf for the past few years. So what happened a good 7-8 years ago, the Albany Capital Region, they started with their first National Drive Electric event in September. September is when all of these events happen nationwide. And because of COVID, they almost did not happen this year. But for Kingston, they take place, this one is going to be on September 26th, I believe, on Saturday at the Ulster County Courthouse parking lot, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. For Dutchess County, I believe October 6th, and we'll confirm on the links there at Locust Grove, I think in the morning. The one for Albany, surprisingly, because of the location at a farmer's market, is going to be probably a virtual one. They're not going to have a physical gathering. But what's really, really fun about driving electric is that you start to get together with so many other people who put their own events together year-round.
Great. That's fantastic to hear. Any final words before we sign off for the day about EVs or any final thoughts?
I'll say stop giving your money to the gas stations. Keep it in your pockets and go electric.
Great. That's perfect. That's a great way to end. Unless, Colin, you have something else to say? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Hugo, for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time. Always a pleasure to talk with you, especially about EVs. And we hopefully will be able to talk to you soon again.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks.